Hi, I'm Bob Kester for Don Odell's Legends, and today with me is Peter Newland from FAT. And there's an opportunity that is on the horizon that I don't think I've seen since the 20 years I've worked at Rock 102, and that is an opportunity to help out the hungry of Springfield with not only the Mayflower Marathon that Bax and O'Brien have been doing for 16 plus years now, but to have Peter come along and add in the musical aspect, something that this area hasn't seen in years, decades. Peter, welcome to the show.
Well, it's just nice to be here, and we want to thank you guys for, getting on board as our media sponsor. As I say, it was an idea that was moving along, but when Rock 102, decided that they were going to come on board as a partner, it really began to take a whole different life.
And for years, Bax and O'Brien have been trying to fill trailerfuls of food to help out the open pantry of Springfield. They first opened their doors to those who needed it in Springfield back in '75. This past year, tragically, they had to close the doors. They ran out of food. How did you get tied up with the Bax and O'Brien Mayflower Marathon and the James Montgomery Band and the Spampinato brothers to bring this all together? And
well, Springfield I love the city of Springfield. I really do. I live there now. I was born and raised in Munson. But Springfield was where my music was born. It was where our band was born. It lifted us. It was the place where the band was lifted up, so that we got the attention of the record companies, and we got our record deals there. And when we, whether we rose or fell in triumph and tragedy, the city always embraced us, and still does to this day. When we play downtown at Stern Square, thousands of people show up to see us play. And it clicked this year. I said, why don't I take my love of music and put it together with my love of the city and see if we can't focus that energy and see if we can make some good things happen and address some issues. And so I decided I was going to do a concert and try to raise some revenue. What I call it a rock-fueled revenue engine is what I want to do to help the city of Springfield. And also at the same time, recapture some of the energy of the '70s in that town. You always hear about vaudeville, and you hear about the great stories of, Douglas Fairbanks and the Marx Brothers playing there, and Sarah Barnhart playing there. And I had always thought the rockin' '70s were pretty as cool as the roaring '20s in that town. And so my thought was to put together a show that captured some of that energy, some of the classic concerts that these three bands did alone and in combination, to try to bring that to the city and have some fun, raise some money for a good cause, and show people the energy of that time. It was a very positive and good time. I'm involved with a lot of people trying to help that city come back, and I think that part of what we need to do is to sort of shine a light on the great traditions and the history of the city. So I decided to do the concert, and then Judy Matt from Spirit of Springfield said, you might want to give the guys at 102 a call, because this is the beginning of November that you're doing your show. It sort of feeds naturally into what they were doing. And we called Alex Byrne over there, and Alex said, yeah, that makes sense. And all of a sudden, we were up and rolling. So I'm really excited, because I think the idea was good. But I think that when you guys came on board, it really gave us a jolt and a shot of energy, and people were going, "Whoa, Rock 102's involved. This thing's got to be smoking."
it always is fun to have Bax and O'Brien camping out at the Basketball Hall of Fame, attempting to woo people in to bring canned food, but to have you guys along as well to bring it to that next level, to have a show at the Paramount that hasn't been seen since the '70s. We already know that the food bank is expecting an increase of at least 20% as far as people who are going to be needing food and assistance going into the turn of the new year. It's really nice to have you guys coming along, not just because you want to help out, but because you have such a local tie to Springfield. What are some of your best memories from the '70s, going back to some of those great shows that used to happen?
Well, I tell you, we played down there with Taj Mahal when Billy Joel was just starting out. Played with John Mayall at the Paramount Theater. But my favorite memory was the last show that I did at that theater. I promoted the show called The Night at the Opera. And there's an organ in that theater that's on a big giant screw, and it goes down into a well about 15 feet in the ground. And we wrapped that thing in we put a dry ice machine down there so that smoke was coming out of that well, and we put spotlights we put spotlights down there, and we struck every light, and the house went black, and I was standing on top of that organ with a black cape on, and I rose up out of the ground. You know, we turned the spotlights on in the well, and I rose up out of the ground looking like the Phantom of the Opera. That's one thing that I will never forget. But there were many great memories in that city. Play with Wilbert Harrison down there, play with Dr. John down there, and not just that, but the shows. I mean, Alice Cooper played down there. Play with the Velvet Underground at the Paramount Theater twice when it was the Woodrow's Ballroom, and that show is actually a bootleg. I think there's a Japanese bootleg of that show out there. So there's some great history, and there was some great energy there. And you know, I got to tell you, we believe we can get back there. You know what I mean? And we're going to do it. You know, and this is the beginning.
And thanks to Don Odell's Legends, we can finally put video to it so that we can sort of recapture some of that magic in November when the show takes place at the Paramount.
Absolutely, that's just another great thing that's happened. One of the really nice things is that as we work and as we try to put this together, and you know what it's like to do a promotion like this, and you don't know if it's going to work, and then people just step up, and you guys stepped up, and now Donald is going to come down, and he's going to, the great work that he does, because I'm looking for things. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to do a photo gallery there with pictures of some of the shows we talked about, and some of the bands and some of the architecture, but there's not much of documentation on finding of the 70s and the 60s. And one thing I love about what Don's doing here is he's documenting things and he's archiving it so that, you know, we think it's going to go on forever. We think, oh, these guys will be back next month, but things pass and things change, and the work that he's doing to document these great bands is fantastic, and for him to make the offer to come down and you know, immortalize our show, if you will, is a great thing.
It certainly does seem to be the perfect storm coming together between Rock 102, Don Odell's Legends, and your three great bands taking the stage in November at the Paramount. As far as getting tickets go, what's the easiest thing for people to do to get their tickets for the James Montgomery Band, Fat, and the Spampinato Brothers?
It's called Jam for. Well, we're calling it Jam for Springfield. And we're hoping. The other thing we're trying to do is we're hoping to have a good event. So we want to do this annually. We want to turn this thing into something that works for Springfield on an ongoing basis. So it's JAM, the number 4 Springfield, and the best way to get tickets now is to go to jamforspringfield.com or go to Facebook. All the information is on Jam for Springfield on Facebook. And there's a phone number there if you want to get them over the phone as well.
It'll be a great show. It's for a great cause. I'm looking forward to it. Peter Newland, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, man.
For Don Odell's Legends, I'm Bob Kester.